Alright. What's up, everyone? Happy Wednesday. Mr. Shea here. Out for a morning paddle. Mostly, I am looking for, I think I just saw, hopefully the GoPro just picked it up, 2 immature bald eagles moved in to this glorious Lawrence Pond. But I haven't figured out where they live yet. I'm on a quest for the eagle nest. Nest quest. Got me with the title of my new mixtape. Anyways, how's everyone doing? Figured I would check in, say hello, share a bit of what I've been doing, and I don't know, feel useful again. I think that's the weirdest thing so far. Suddenly all of the things that we normally gain our meaning from, activities, sports, teaching, suddenly we don't have it. Thus, we gotta improvise. So I am going to start a show. We're going to cover the news, look at whatever stories have been happening, explain the headlines, pretty much what we do in class, if you have me, every day. Take you on an adventure, because I know some of you are stuck at home. For me, being stuck at home, I happen to live in the middle of the wilderness. But for many of you, I know it's a bit less picturesque. We'll have some musical guests, we'll do some cooking. I want to hear stories from you. Share what you've been doing, what's happening, how are you keeping entertained? How are you not losing your mind? What are you doing to keep that piece of you feeling worthwhile? So, today's episode 1, good old March 18th, 2020. As always, shows are brought to us by tea. It's hot. Tea. Always tasty. I will say I was betrayed by my tea yesterday. Oh, terrible burn. Oh. Anyways, I'm not going to think about that. Let's head in to the newsroom. Check out the headlines. Talk about what's happened. And make some muffins. How's that sound? Alright, well, once again, it's nice seeing you. And we'll check in on you inside in a second.
Alright. What's up, everyone? We're back. If you're wondering, yes, I always wear a tie. However, I do have sweatpants on because I'm not at school. Anyways, got my lanyard, ID, we're good to go. Alright, first off, to prove I'm not crazy, just what you're seeing behind me, above me, I gotta figure this out, is Bald Eagle. Look at that guy. So these some pictures I took March 15th. What day is that? Ooh, Sunday? Sunday. I was out. Actually, I was sitting in my house. I was reading. Looked outside, saw this big shape circling. So I grabbed my camera, ran down out by the water, and then it flew like right at me. And I was just actually sitting there like, oh my God, I can't believe it's flying at me. So I ran to the hill behind my house. I couldn't find it. So I'm sitting there out of breath, and finally I get up. And the thing's just sitting in front of me this whole time. Didn't even see it. And it was just messed with me. So bald eagle. I'm going to get better pictures. But here's a couple. Yeah, bald eagles are cool. So what's happening? What are we doing? What's been going on? Last time I saw y'all was on Friday. Certainly getting that news right off the bat after school that we're canceling for 2 weeks was, I don't know, exciting. For me, not being at school, I'm pretty much kind of just doing this, writing and kayaking and chasing eagles. So it was a bit exciting at first, but then it's also, the fact that this is exciting for not really the best reasons. By not really, I mean perhaps the worst reasons, to be honest. So pretty quickly on, I realized I needed to create some structure so that I wouldn't be wallowing in fear or boredom. So I created some guidelines of confinement, which I have posted to my fridge. They include computer use only on kitchen table and office desk. The news, entertainment, 3 hours max per day between noon and 8 p.m. I'm breaking the rule today. That's why these are guidelines, not a rule. But mostly I'm just trying to limit myself so I'm not just sitting reading news all day. Like, it's going to get stressful. So I'm really just checking the news twice a day, which, as you know, I'm a person that likes to read the news a lot. But right now, I don't think it's necessarily the best thing to be doing that. Once again, tea, real MVP here. Twinings. Actually, any tea company. I'll take any sponsorships anyone feels like throwing at me. Whatever. It's all good. I have to write, photograph, share, outdoor post. Nope. Once a week. I'm kind of changing that. I think I might be trying to do this project 3 days a week. So it's a bit more ambitious than initially. Seek wonder. Shower daily. Be not wasteful. And dishes before bed. So far, those are the rules. So far, they're going pretty great, I think. So, you're sitting there like, I get it, whatever. You're doing things to cope. That's good. We're all doing that. However, what's going on in the world? Well, that's the real question. So, let's kick it. All right, that's a good story. I'm going to hold on to that for later. 150 years. Good job, Boston Museum of Fine Arts. So what has been happening? Let's see. Most recent email we got, and I guess from our land, I will start with that. It'd be a good thing to start with, each time I do a video like this. So there's one person at the high school, staff member, that has undergone testing. We have a West Villages student undergone testing. And we'll find out if those tests came back positive or negative. Once again, positive means you have it. Negative means you don't. So, generally, you want to be negative. One of the rare times you want to do that. We do have meals, HYCC, High West, BIS, BUE. 10 to 1, we got lunches looking like, and 4 to 6 as well. So if you are hungry, stop on by the school. You don't even, I believe, have to give an ID. Yeah, you don't. And on Fridays, you can pick up meals for the weekend. So we all get to stay hungry. We're all staying hungry. We all get to stay fed. So make sure if you need some food, stop on by. I know a bunch of teachers dropped off a bunch of food on Monday. Shout out to all those teachers. And that's kind of the big news from us. In the good old state of Massachusetts, what we are looking at as a state is increase in hospitalizations. So we are seeing a lot more people that are being hospitalized, which is kind of what's expected right now. So we know there's about 200, so we get 218 confirmed cases. A lot of the scientists right now are expecting that number to be far higher just because we haven't had a lot of tests. So that's kind of been one of the big shortcomings that we've been seeing over the last month, has been a lack of tests. Those tests are being ramped up in their production right now, including at least one big Massachusetts company. So that's a good thing. So once we are able to test more people, once that capacity expands, then we can actually have a better picture. So that's kind of the scary part right now, is it's a bit unknown. We don't really know exactly what it's looking like because we don't have the data. South Korea right now, they're testing 10,000 people a day. So we are not even close to that number. But hopefully once we get to that point, then we can have a better picture of what's happening. So with this increase, we're going to start seeing a lot more people. We have 3 people in Sandwich right now, which even more locally in my town sitting here, and for many of you, the town next door. So we have 3 cases in Sandwich. And I think the thing that, actually before we even go on, the 4 websites I'll be using for news, just so we're straight on that for everyone. Cape Cod Times for some local stuff. Then we have the Boston Globe for also state stuff. New York Times, as well as BBC News. So those are going to be the 3 sources that we're using. And I'm also going to be showing you some stuff from the CDC, the World Health Organization, so the major organizations that are coordinating this response. So locally, we've been seeing that increase, but nationally, what's been happening? So President Trump on Monday gave an address to the nation where he said,
this afternoon, we're announcing new guidelines for every American to follow over the next 15 days as we combat the virus. Each and every one of us has a critical role to play in stopping the spread and transmission of the virus. We did this today. This was done by a lot of very talented people, some of whom are standing with me, and that's available. And Dr.
He sounds exactly like me when I'm showing off your work to other teachers, being like, look at this. A student did this. Isn't this awesome? These kids are great. They get to do great things. Students are awesome. Because, looking at it, it's pretty much just like a PowerPoint slide, which it's right here. So 15 days to slow the spread, as the president's announced. I was like people sitting in the background being like, yeah, I made that. It's like, yeah, I killed that slide. So nice job on the bullet points. As we know, I hate paragraphs, so this one looks pretty solid. White background, though? I don't know. I could have done a little nicer color back there. But a lot of good tips on here, and we'll talk about some more tips. But on this side, though, I don't know. We get a lot of paragraphs. We get some weird all caps and boldings going on. I don't know. I think we could have made a little better one. However, we're in a rush here. We know we are in a scary time, so we don't want to be too critical here. However, so the president announced a lot of restrictions, and those include the schools being closed for now 3 weeks, so an additional week on our initial closing. We have people being encouraged to avoid restaurants and bars and crowded places. A lot of those places are shutting down. In Massachusetts, we have takeout only in those restaurants. And really the big one that I think a lot of people got taken by surprise by, perhaps not the recommendation itself, but the fact that the U.S. government made this recommendation, is limiting groups to no more than 10 people. So really what all these measures are meant to do is to reduce the curve. And that's a phrase that you're going to be hearing a lot, or you have heard a lot. So Dr. Anthony Fauci, who is the actually Holy Cross alumni. Heck yeah. He is coordinating the response for the U.S. government. You've probably seen in some press conferences, and is the head of the national disease. I'm going to butcher this. So let's just Google it because that makes more sense. National Institute of Allergies and Health, right? He's the director of it. Infectious diseases. So this guy is really the authority in the United States when it comes to infectious diseases. Thus, pretty much the guy that we want to hear about. So hear from. So he keeps talking about this idea of flattening the curve. And the curve is right here. I'll get myself out of the way. Hello. So we have number of people infected is this axis. Then at the bottom here, get out of here. Time from first infection. So we know we're somewhere around here right now. And the goal is to flatten the curve. So we want this orange curve. This is the one we want to see. Because if we don't have precautions, if we aren't taking these social distancing, where we are not gathering in groups, we're not going out to restaurants, we're keeping 6 feet away from people. Now, if we don't do that, then we're going to see a huge spike in infections because it's going to spread much faster. Now, if we do follow these social distancing, then we are going to see those amount of infections spread out over a much longer time. And why we want, in many ways, this coronavirus pandemic to last longer is that if it's spread out, then the healthcare system won't get overwhelmed with patients. If we get this huge rush of patients very quickly, then the hospitals and whatever health systems that we have established, they really can't handle that. So if we are able to spread out these infections for a long time, then people that need help can get the help that they need. And that's really the goal here, is we know that the healthcare system can only handle so many people. There's only so many beds. There's only so many ventilators. So if we can minimize the amount of spread right now, then it's going to help us out later on. And that's a good thing that this is what our scientists are telling us. It's a good thing that the president's telling us to do this. So what else is the government doing? Good question, because it's not simply just how many people are getting sick. As I've been talking to all of my classes about, in many ways, the most difficult part of a pandemic is how people react. So we have been seeing a lot of reactions. We've been seeing a lot of financial reactions. The stock market has not been doing well. There's a lot of concerns about layoffs, people losing jobs. I know many of you that work aren't working. So you are just a small segment of the working population. So there's a lot of ideas. New York Times is advocating to give Americans $2,000 immediately because people are really struggling right now. And if they aren't struggling, the struggle is probably going to come. So there is a great concern for the economic impact of this. Obviously, the health impact is the biggest concern right now. But the proposal from the White House is that we're looking at about $1 trillion plan, which would include $250 billion for direct checks to Americans by the end of April. So this is a plan that's coming from the Treasury Secretary. This has not been approved by the House or the Senate, but it seems like our elected officials are going to be working pretty quickly on trying to pass whatever is needed to keep our economy afloat, but really keeping people in a way that they are safe and comfortable and aren't really being hurt dramatically. So that's a good thing that our government is working on that. So what else is happening? Some great tips. We have when to wash your hands after coughing and sneezing, caring for the sick, before and after prepare food, before eating, toilet use, when hands are visibly dirty, after handling animals or animal waste. All good times to wash your hands for everyone. and we all know the 20 seconds. I will say the video I created that you'll probably see in a second, or maybe I just showed it. Who knows? I think we are getting really good at washing hands these days. Like, we're all focusing on how long it has to be. I think the style, we really got to work on our styles. What techniques are you down with in the hand washing world? So the more enjoyment we can get out of hand washing, then the less it becomes a task. Some other things. So these are from the World Health Organization. When you're coughing or sneezing, cover your mouth and nose. Throw tissue into closed bin. Contact. Spitting in public. Like, who spits these days? It isn't like we're in the old Wild West and just spitting into a can. Which, objectively, was the only time spitting's ever been cool. Now, spitting ain't cool. Actually, I don't even know if it was cool back then. I think everyone still thought it was pretty gross. Anyways, if you do have a fever, cough, or difficulty breathing, so we know that COVID-19 really affects the respiratory system. So if that's something that you start having, and let's be real, there's people on the Cape that have this, we need to assume that a lot of people are going to get this disease. And especially for young people, it's going to be something that's probably pretty mild. But you are going to see and know people that do get sick. There's a lot of numbers thrown around as to how many people are going to get this, but a lot of people are really looking at that 40% range, which is a lot of Americans. So this is really something that you're going to start seeing. Hopefully not in large waves, as we said. We're trying to flatten the curve, but you are going to see it. So a couple things for coping with it. I think if you are feeling freaked out, scared, as the World Health Organization says here, I mean, that's normal. There's days that I've been just like laying around being like, this is the craziest thing that's ever happened to me. That's happened in this world. And I think for most Americans, this is it. We've had a lot of incidents. We've had a lot of big events that happen. But other than really World War II in the last 70, 80 years, this is kind of it. That's come with really affecting everyone worldwide. So this is really normal if you are feeling stressed out, if you're confused. And that's kind of why I'm doing these videos. So one thing that I will be focusing on is how do we keep a healthy lifestyle? How do we keep moving, keep laughing, keep eating, stay in contact with people? We don't want to use smoking, alcohol, or drugs to deal with emotions. So those of you vaping a lot right now, because it makes you feel better. Once again, vaping is not necessarily a good thing at all. So beyond the fact that it's then a coping mechanism, it's really something that you want to try to cut back on. And talk about it. As good old Mr. Rogers said, if it's mentionable, it's manageable. And if we just sit here and freak ourselves out and don't talk about it, then that's something that's really going to cause problems. But if we can vocalize these things that's happened to us, it's going to make you feel better. So send me some videos, tell me how you're doing, what's happening, and we can kind of work through this together because, that's all we can do in these days. We can rely on each other. Especially this one, I know I just mentioned it, but lessening how much time we're on social media. I think that's really important for all of us, that we're not constantly being bombarded by what's happening that keeps ratcheting up those fears. There's times we just need to sit and think about it. I mean, yesterday when I came up with the idea of this video, it wasn't that I was sitting reading the news thinking, oh my God, what's happening? I'll be honest, I built a fort. It's awesome. I'll show you some pictures. Actually, I have some pictures. And I was chilling in my fort. Here's the fort. Look at that. Who doesn't need a fort these days? So I was sitting in there reading a great book right now called The Overstory. Shout out to my mom. And that's where I came up with this idea. So we really do need to start thinking and giving ourselves time to think and process things and not just constantly bombarding ourselves with information and knowledge. So, that's kind of the main news right now. I don't know how long I've been talking. I'm aiming for like an hour on these. I don't know if anyone's actually going to watch them for that long. Probably 20 minutes. Maybe it would be better to edit them down to, but heck, we'll see what happens. All right. What's up, everyone? Today, in a reoccurring installment of doing things outside, I will teach you how to build a fire. What do we need to build a fire? First off, we need a lot of sticks. Now, there's a lot of different types of sticks out there. Not all sticks are built equal. So we got a stick like this, pretty good size stick. First, you always want to give a snap test. This one's not super snappy, see it's still kind of hanging on. So it's a little green, which means it's not gonna light on fire as quickly. Now, especially in the early stages, we really want that fire to start cooking. Get real hot real quickly. This stick, on the other hand, see that much cleaner snap? It's also a bit smaller. So initially you really want those twigs. Like cooking, you want to make sure that you have everything in place, ready to go by the time you light the fire. You don't want to be scrambling around. You light the fire and then you're running back and forth, trying to get some more sticks, get some more twigs. You want to really have everything in the beginning right there with you. Now, once you have a good amount of sticks, and I'm going to keep picking them up as I'm talking to you, you also want to have some larger sticks and eventually get up into some branches area. Now, twigs, sticks, branches. The thing though that we need before we light the fire is going to be some tinder. There's a lot of types of tinder out there, a lot of things you can use. Lint from a dryer goes up in seconds. Today we're going to use some bark from a cedar. The bark, it's just really stringy, and once we make a ball out of it, it's going to be really nice to get the fire going. What we have is we have some leaves, we have some birch bark, and we have some cedar. We have twigs, so once we get this lit, then we're gonna want to get those twigs on there real quick. Alright, if at first you don't succeed, try again. Alright, so we're gonna need a couple things. It did rain a lot yesterday, so we are looking at our twigs being really not super dry right now. So I'm gonna do a couple things. Number one, I'm gonna find some more leaves, because those are catching real nice. Number two, find some more real tiny twigs. And number three, keep trying. Which is fine. I think a lot of people get intimidated. That leaf's a little bit wet when it comes to building a fire, because you don't want to look like you're struggling. No one wants to look like they don't know what they're doing. But you know what? Sometimes just it doesn't work out. And that's just okay. So whatever you're cooking on the fire, right now I'm just heating up some water. You don't want to put it directly on top. I have a nice grate on here,
if you have a fire without a grate, I guess even before that, you always want to have your fire within some sort of confined area. This one needs to get a little cleaned out. We've got some leaves and stuff in here. But either rocks, dig out a fire circle. You really want to make sure that you're not going to spread out if that fire goes untended or starts burning things that are around. So if you have something like this, that's awesome. You can just place things on your grate. If you don't, you can use a stick, a pole. I'll show you that right now. All right. So what I'm doing here is adding some more oxygen to the fire. What that's going to do is increase the temperature of the fire because there's more oxygen that's going to feed it. If you don't have good airflow, when we were talking in the beginning, choking out that fire, you need oxygen to continue to be flowing in there. So if you see a old blacksmith movie, not that there's blacksmith movies, but there's a blacksmith in a movie. They have those bellows where they're pumping more oxygen into the fire itself, and it's going to increase the heat. So now that the coals are going in there, add some more oxygen. It's going to heat that fire up, even if those sticks, as they are pretty wet right now, it's going to get them going and get the fire cooking. And that, my friends, is how you make a fire and make a cup of tea.
All right, y'all. I'm going to call this one a day. I've been having some technical difficulties, so I'll leave you where we began, with a view from the front of the boat. I know it's been a weird couple weeks, and it really only stands to get weirder. So I encourage all of you to figure out how you are going to keep some structure in your life, how you're going to keep meaning in your life, and what you can do that is going to bring you joy and spark your curiosity. And I think that's something all of us need to figure out. So send along, students, any stories, any tips, any advice, anything you've created, and I will share it out. Not everything, only the best of the best, but we all knew that. If you have questions about news stories, let me know. Comment below, email me, whatever it might be, and I can address it in the next video, so look out for that on Friday. Hopefully I have a couple guests lined up, both folks you know and folks you don't. But be kind, take care of each other, and we will catch you on the flip side.